and welcome to my pocket homestead. This is my new YouTube channel where I will be documenting my journey on becoming a homesteader. I've already been in the process of learning certain skills. My name is Sandra and I am keen and eager to become a homesteader. So I'm here in my messy kitchen. We have a small bungalow on about a seventh of an acre of a property. I'd say we have roughly half of an acre to work with, workable land basically, so that we can grow our own food, potentially raise our own chicken, ducks, maybe goats. We're not quite certain. We're going with the flow. We do what we can at a time. We're on a small budget as I am a stay-at-home mom. I have a little side hustle where I sell flowers from the garden on a roadside stand, which is it is successful enough and it brings in a little bit of extra income, which is fantastic. So it makes this all actually possible. Now, I'm here in my kitchen today, my messy kitchen, and I am going to make yogurt. That's something I have learned a couple of weeks ago, how to make your own yogurt. Now, I was away for 2 weeks. We had some losses in the family and I've been grieving and I've been kind of ignoring all the tasks on hand as I kind of needed time for myself. But now I'm ready to get back into it and I'm going to be starting a new batch of yogurt today, which is very easy. It's something very, very easy to do. I thankfully invested in a slow cooker last year, so that's very helpful for making yogurt. And while we're making yogurt, I will be talking about homesteading and what it actually is, why we're doing it, what are the goals, etc. So I hope you tag along and thanks for watching. Let's start with the yogurt. It's actually very simple. It's, I think, my third or fourth time of making it. The first time I made it, my yogurt was very slimy, so I decided I didn't trust it and I kind of threw it out. But thankfully I started with a small batch. So if you're new to this and you don't know what you're doing, might be a good idea, instead of making a super big batch and wasting all the milk because it doesn't work out, start with a small batch. I have 3 liters of milk today that I'm going to pour into my slow cooker. I have already sanitized it to make sure that there's no harmful bacteria in there because we don't want to spoil it. Right, I have 3 liters of milk and I'm just going to pour them into my slow cooker. I think the dog is trying to get into the kitchen. We have a dog, Buttons is his name. He likes to bark, he likes to be being loud. We love him, but it can be annoying. But you might be coming across it sometime. Oh, there he is. Hi. Good boy, good boy. Sometimes when I film videos, he also likes to snore, and then you can hear it in the background. It's quite cute as well. Now, anyway, milk is in, and we are now turning on the slow cooker. If it was plugged in, we have to plug it in first. The slow cooker we have, now this is not an advertisement or anything, right? This is just simply me explaining. We have the Ninja slow cooker and I actually really like it because it has different functions in it, including a proving function, which is going to come in handy later. Now I'm going to turn my slow cooker to low and I'm going to start cooking it. And I'm going to give it time. When I have it on slow, it goes up to about 60 degrees. We need the milk to be up to roughly 80 degrees. Now I'm talking Celsius, I'm in Ireland, so we have the Celsius. I don't know what's the Fahrenheit is. But anyway, that's turned on. We're gonna wait until it's hot. Then I'm gonna take the temperature and I'm gonna turn it on high for a little while just to turn it up to 80 degrees. But I'm going to be careful with that because the last time I made the yogurt, I kind of messed up the temperatures a little bit and then I went up and down and up and down, and then my yogurt was a little, how do you call it? It got a bit cloudy or frothy, or not frothy, what's the word? I'm bilingual as well, so sometimes the words are missing and I'm not saying the right words. So annoying. Anyway, we let that sit, and while we wait, I've also been on a little foraging walk this morning because it is almost the beginning of autumn, which is a perfect time for foraging. The elderberries are ripening at the moment and plenty of ripe ones out there. We have exactly one shrub down the lane where we live that I like to harvest. There wasn't a lot on it this year because the birds came before me, but that's fine. I've got a small bag of elderberries. I've got a tub of yummy blackberries because this year was a great year for berries, and they're so yummy and they're so sweet. And I have apples from neighbours, cooking apples to be exact, Bramleys, that I will be turning into some jam. So I will be first of all washing my fruit and peeling those apples. Now I have here my elderberries. Sorry for the sound, I don't have a microphone just yet, but I hope I will get that next week. So yeah, we're washing them just to get the little bugs and insects out. And then we have to remove those berries from the stalks. The best way to get the berries from the stalks is just simply with a fork. So it goes very quick and very easy. So I managed to pick about 300 grams of blackberries, and I also have about 300 grams of elderberries. And did you know elderberries are actually quite healthy? They're full of vitamin C and antioxidants. So that is great. A lot of people make syrup out of it that they can drink whenever they're sick and make like little tinctures. It's, yeah, very much used in herbalism. So definitely something to look a bit further into. I'm very interested in herbalism, I must say. It's one of those skills I would like to learn, and I would like to have enough of those herbs, medicinal herbs and plants in my garden that I can make tinctures and stuff myself. So at least for, you know, the small complaints, like if you're having a headache or if you have a strong period or if you're feeling anxious, things like this, you know, that would be fantastic. So yeah, I have about 600 grams of berries. I think I'm gonna peel about 1 kilo of apples to bring the content up to 1.5 kilos, and then I can combine it with sugar. I'm not gonna make a 1-to-1. I'm probably gonna make, if I have 1.5 kilos of berries or fruit, I will go with maximum 1 kilo of sugar. The pectin in the apples should hopefully be enough to make it nice and thick, but I can cook it and reduce it for as long as I need it to in order for it to get a nice thickness. I got this big bag of apples from a neighbor. So it's great to live in the country and to have neighbors that grow stuff themselves. I continuously get harvest because people know that I'm doing stuff with it that I like to preserve, and I make wine and I bake with it, and so things are at least being used, and that's why the neighbors like to give me produce. So that's quite handy. But that's also one of the parts of homesteading, is that you're kind of building a community, and I love that where we live here, that we have such good relationships with our neighbors, and that there is this little kind of trait going on. We get the fruit, I make wine, and then I bring bottles of wine over for them to enjoy. And while we are preparing our apples now, I will be obviously peeling them and chopping them up into smaller pieces. I will probably use a masher later to mash them a little when I cook them, so they don't have to be cut too small, but at least they cook easier if I cut them into smaller pieces. So I've obviously been thinking about homesteading and self-sufficiency for quite some time. About 10 years ago, a bit over 10 years ago, I did my master's in nature conservation and environmental planning. And I've always been interested in like living more in harmony with nature. Very interested in the principles of permaculture, and yeah, homesteading is just one of those things that really sparks my interest, right? And so yeah, I was just kind of looking into what actually is homesteading. Homesteading. I am German, by the way, so my English mightn't be always perfect. I do live in Ireland, so I'm fairly fluent, but obviously I'll have outbursts like this where I don't know how to say words, or where I just don't remember what a word is. Anyway, I apologize for that. And I also apologize for my fridge. My fridge is very loud. I don't know how well it is possible to hear it. It annoys me. It actually distracts me. I have a bit of a sensory sensitivity, and the noise actually is driving me insane. But we got this. So basically what homesteading is that you're kind of focusing your energy on a greater self-sufficiency, right? It's not what people think, that it's just about gardening and growing everything yourself. It's more about making yourself, even if you don't have a garden and you can't grow yourself, you can still be a homesteader if you're, like, for example, going to the market and you're buying the produce and you're learning how to preserve them, and things like canning and fermenting and making jams and all those kind of things. It's just as much homesteading as it is if you have property and you're tending to animals and a garden and growing your own crops. So you're basically trying to meet your own needs and getting that kind of independence, and you're basically having the intent of relying much less on outside systems. So food production, and I mean, to be honest, when you're looking at the news these days, I kind of always try to avoid looking at the news because they're so frustrating and depressing, really. But at the same time, I don't want to be ignorant about them, so it's a catch, really. But yeah, you look at that, at the situation in our world, and you wonder how long our world is going to be the way that we know it, and is it going to come crashing down, and are there going to be supply issues, obviously energy issues, energy crisis, climate crisis, things like this. It's all too real, all too true. So gaining that kind of independence and being able to care for yourself, to learning all those skills on how to preserve, how to grow your own food, how to fix things yourself, how to build things yourself. It gives you certain power, it gives you certain independence and security. And I think that really is what homesteading is about. Yeah, and I mean, the great thing is you don't really need a farm or a big property to be a homesteader. And I know with my half of an acre of property that we have to work with, we do have so much more than so many others, and there's plenty of people, examples out there, especially on YouTube, doing videos. They have much less and they achieve so much in regards to homesteading. So if you are someone who's thinking about homesteading, but you think, oh, I don't have the farm, I can't do it, that's just not true. You can totally do it no matter what you have to work with. So why do we homestead? And I actually did mention that already. Obviously, it's the food security, the kind of power that you have, being able to look after yourself and your family if something ever happens with the system, if it breaks down, or if there's a wider war, World War III. I mean, you never know. You can't know what's going on in the heads of all those dictators and people in power. You never know what the world's going to look like in 10 years. So it gives us a sense of control as well, independence, power, etc. I don't want to repeat myself, so I think I said that enough. And that's pretty much it. We have 2 toddlers, and ever since I had the children, and then obviously we had Corona, I had my children just right after Corona, and it's like, how do we give our children a secure future? Because we can't influence what's going on out there. You know, we can talk about it and we can protest, but that's really all we can do, isn't it? I mean, obviously we can try and fight the consumerism, but I guess that's the homesteading as well. You're kind of building a little bit of a resistance against the system, buying less of what they're trying to feed us, you know, not allowing them to make us so sick. So I have my apples done, a little less than a kilo, and I have the 600 grams of berries. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start cooking these, put them in my pot, and I'm gonna heat them up and cook them because I want the juices out of the berries. Now they said, or I read on a blog, not to crush them too much because you don't want to crush the seeds, because the seeds are supposed to be bitter. I don't know about that, I have not experienced that so far, but I'll be going with it. Now while my elderberries are cooking here, it's already looking nice and juicy, and it smells so good. I love the smell of elderberries. So I'll be checking on my yogurt. I have a thermometer that I have also sterilized, and a spoon. I always try not to get all the water into the yogurt. And I am going to give it a stir. So we want to make sure it doesn't burn on the bottom, but I have it on low, so that shouldn't happen. It's just when you have it later on a higher temperature to get it up to 80 degrees, that's when you want to make sure you stir from time to time, otherwise it burns on the bottom. So let's see. Okay, we're up to 50 degrees at the moment. I know when I have it on low, it goes up to about 60 to 65. So I give it another little bit of time. And then I will put it up. But once I raise it up to the high temperature, I will be staying close to it. I'm going to keep a close eye on it. As I said, I'm going to stir it regularly, because last time I did it, it burned on the bottom, and then I had all those pieces in the yogurt. So that wasn't very pleasant. And then after that, once we have it heated up to 80 degrees Celsius, we're going to let it cool down to 40 degrees Celsius. And then once we have it at 40 degrees Celsius, we can put in the yogurt culture. So it needs to be an active culture. If you're buying yogurt from a shop, you need to make sure it says it's a live culture. I'm going to show you what I have. I have an Irish yogurt, so that's at least local. Made right here down in Cork somewhere. It's a live natural yogurt, no added sugar, full of gut-friendly cultures. So something like this is what you want as a starter for your yogurt. Once it's cooled down after cooking it, we put in about a spoon or 2 spoons of this live culture into the yogurt, and then we let it proof. As I said, my slow cooker thankfully has a proofing function, and I can put it either on 30 degrees or 40 degrees, and I will put it up to 40 degrees because that's what yogurt culture is like. And then we leave it possibly overnight and just let the culture work its magic. And then in the morning you have yogurt, homemade yogurt. Once you've done that, I have 3 liters of milk in there, so that's a lot of yogurt, and I can use this culture then for my next batch. So I'm gonna keep just a little bit aside, and then I think I read somewhere you should use it within a week to make a new batch of yogurt. So then the following week I can make a new batch of yogurt. I still have to figure out how much yogurt I'm gonna make. Obviously today I made 3 liters of milk. I need to see how much the kids are actually going to eat from this, because it's obviously different to the petit filou, and you know, with toddlers you never know. And then how much am I actually eating from it? Like I actually don't know how much yogurt I'm eating. If I eat it every morning with a bit of homemade granola, then how much am I going to use up? And then like cooking with it as well. So yeah, we will see how far we get with the 3 liters. And then how much is left of it in a week's time. And then I might go down to 2 liters of milk instead of 3 if I don't use that much. I don't think I will need more. But yeah, now let's get back to the elderberries. They are looking good. Nice and juicy. You're gonna squeeze a little bit here. Squash them a little bit carefully. Get a bit more of the juice out. And then, yeah, I'm not quite satisfied yet. I'm gonna leave it for another little bit. And then I gotta put that in here through this sieve. So we get at least a little bit of pulp through this, so it's not too fine mashed. So I think I'm quite happy now with my elderberries. I did a quick Google there, just to see about the seeds. And it actually says on Google that the seeds are poisonous and that you should be careful with the consumption of the elderberry seeds, and that's one of the reasons why you strain them. So that's very interesting. Oh, my doggy's coming. The Buttons. Hey Buttons, what's up? Do you want to see Buttons? See who I'm talking to? Do you want to say hi? Hi. Oh. He's a cockapoo and absolutely obsessed with his mummy. Aren't you? Aren't you? Okay, back to the elderberries. Oi! Oi! Oh, he wants my attention now. Wait. Love you, Buttons. No, he's freshly washed, so it shouldn't be too bad that I just petted him. It's not that I stick my hand into the jam anyway. No. Let's see what we can do here. I feel kind of bad for throwing all this pulp away. And then I watched another video where they said the pulp can be easily used for like a pie filling, but if the seeds are poisonous, then now what is it? We have to figure that out. I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do a Google and see what I can find. That's interesting now. I actually have a book for like a herbal medicine encyclopedia sort of thing. I'm gonna look into that book now. Now, I think I did mention before, I have no clue what I'm doing, right? I always loved cooking and baking, so I guess there's a bit of knowledge there and a bit of skill, I guess. But besides the wine that I made 2 years ago from elderberries, I've never done anything with elderberries. I know my granny used to cook jellies from it, but my granny just recently passed away, so I won't be able to ask her. It's been a bit of a sad time for us. We've lost our sister-in-law to brain cancer, and then shortly after my granny passed away because of age. So we're grieving, but we're making the most of what we have. And I guess when things like this happen and you lose someone, you kind of start seeing the bigger picture. You're kind of like, I don't know, what am I saying? I don't know, I feel a little lost lately, but I feel so much more grateful for what we have. And I guess that's what I mean with the bigger picture. You know, you can always get hung up on such small things and that upset you and that make you feel like, oh, you don't have enough in life, or life isn't working the way you want it to. You know, if you want to, there's always something you can complain about. But going through grief and losing someone at such a young age is just reminding you how lucky you are. Lucky to be alive, lucky to have your health. You know, oftentimes we take things so much for granted, and situations like this help you to kind of get back into reality and just be more grateful and appreciative of what you have. And I'm definitely someone who likes to complain, and I really shouldn't. I really shouldn't complain, because we're the lucky ones. If you read the news, we really are. We really are the lucky ones. So yeah. Anyway, I am just going to pour in my blackberries. They're so nice and sweet this year. They're so good. And then the apples. Oopsie daisy. That's a lot of apples, actually. Now, I'm going to put them on the stove and I'm going to start cooking them so they can reduce. And then once I have a bit more room in this pot, I will add the sugar. It's going to have a nice color. A lovely color. Look at this. Oh, God, you can't see it. Now, I'm going to get out my book and I'm going to see what I can find in regards to elderberry seeds. So I have this really nice book. It's the Encyclopedia of Herbal Medicine. Now, you know the way you always find all the information online, readily available, but what if something happens and the grid goes out, and we have no power, or we can't access the internet anymore? Then all this knowledge and all the information is gone. So I do like to have a small little library of books like these that I can look into anytime I want to. This book is great. I can recommend this. We have something about the elderberry here where it's just saying like the fresh and dried berries have antiviral activity and support improved immune function. There was another page where it said something about cyanogenic glycosides, and it says it is in the leaves of the elder. So what I knew that the leaves and the stems shouldn't be consumed. Now I don't know if that was still recording. I think my battery's almost empty. Anyway, I'm just recording with my phone. That's all I have. And so there's one more page that we can look into, 136. I should go and charge it. But I'm almost done here anyway. It's probably already a long enough video. So the elder berries have lectins and flavonoids, vitamins A and C in it. And the flowers are really high in vitamins as well, vitamins A and C. I don't even know what all of this means, to be honest. So key actions of elder is it's antiviral, anti-cathary, anti-inflammatory, diuretic, and increases sweating. Elder was traditionally known as nature's medicine chest. That's very interesting. So, is there anything said about berries are nutritious and may be used as a mild laxative? Berries contain vitamins A and C. You can make infusions, cream, tinctures, decoction. The berries appear to enhance immune function. There's absolutely nothing about the seeds here. So I don't know. What do we believe? What do we think? If you're watching this and you know the answer, leave a comment and let me know. Let us all in on your knowledge and help us know, are the seeds edible? Can we eat the seeds? I do believe I ate the seeds before and I'm still here. So I would say they are. I don't recall them being bitter either. But I guess I kind of am, especially if my kids are eating this, I'm kind of getting very, very cautious about things like this. So today I just really wanted to be on the safer side. And then, yeah, if someone knows the answer, or maybe if I find the answer, I leave it in the comment too. But yeah, let's see how this is boiling here. I can just repeat myself, it smells so good. Look at that color. It looks almost like beetroot to me. The apples have taken on the color. It looks like beet. I don't like beet, I'm not a big fan. But anyway, these apples. So I'm gonna wait until they're nice and soft, and then I'm gonna mash them up a little, and then I'm gonna add the sugar, and then I'm gonna keep cooking until I have what I want. My milk has now also reached about 65 degrees. So I'm gonna be turning off and turning it back on, putting it on high, pressing start and giving it a chance to heat up to about 80 degrees. All the while, I burnt my jam. It kind of started smelling strong, so I filled it over into a different pot. I turned down the temperature now. I might add in a little bit of water, and I hope it won't burn again. But yeah, I also hope it doesn't just taste of burn now. So I had my milk now for about 8 minutes on the high setting, and it's already up to above 80 degrees, so I can turn this off now. I'm leaving off my lid a little bit so it can cool down a little bit quicker. I'm gonna keep an eye on the temperature over the next little while, but I think it's gonna take a little while before it's down to 40 degrees. Once it's down to 40 degrees, I will scoop out a ladle of milk and mix it with a spoon or two of the yogurt that I showed you, and then I will all mix it in, so it kind of helps the yogurt to get used to the temperature before you actually put it in the full thingy. And yeah, then it can sit for a couple of hours, probably until the morning, overnight. I will have it on the proofing section on the proofing function for about 40 degrees Celsius, and yeah, in the morning I will have yogurt. And to my little jam. So I thought, because I'm not using the pulp of the berries, of the elderberries, I have obviously much less to work with, so it's not going to be 1.5 kilos anymore. Anyway, I used roughly half a kilo of sugar. I have a full kilo of sugar here, and I used roughly half the bag of it, and that's enough. I tasted it already, it's definitely sweet enough, and it's absolutely delicious. I mashed it with my little potato masher, and it's gorgeous. Now I just figured I haven't even prepared the jars yet, so I might better do that. And then I'm gonna fill it up and I show you the end result. And yeah, but that's it. I think that's it for today. The video is probably already gonna be long enough. Do you know, I always start those videos thinking, oh, I have nothing to talk about, and how am I going to fill 10 minutes? And then the videos end up being 30 minutes and I have to cut so much out. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you learned a little bit. If you're planning on homesteading, follow my journey, learn with me together. Don't be shy commenting. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You know, let's share. And I hope I see you next week for my garden tour. Thanks. Bye.